Mahitalam Chatalam Cha.
Mahitalam Tajaganam Mahipate.
Mahitalam Tajaganam Mahipate.
Nabashtalam Nabi Sarogrananti.
Navastalam Navi Sarupinanti.
Dvejanani Sutalam Vishvamurte.
Vijayavili Sutalam Vishvamurte.
Urudvayam Vittalam Chatalam Cha.
Gurudayam Vitalam Chatalam Cha.
Mahitalam Chajaganam Mahipate.
Mahitalam Jaganam Mahipate.
Nabashtalam Nabi Sarogrananti.
Navastalam Navi Sarupinanti.
Vijanani Sutalam Vishwamurti.
Vijayavili Sutalam Vishvamurte.
Gurudvayam Vittalam Chatalam
Urudvayam Vittalam Chatalam Cha.
Jalam Tajaganam Mahipate.
Mahitalam Tajaganam Mahipate.
Namastalam Navi Sarogrananti.
Nabashtalam Navi Sarogrananti.
Vijanuni Sutalam Vishvamurte.
Vijanani Sutalam Vishvamurte.
Gurudvayam Vitalam Chatalam Cha.
Urudvayam Vittalam Chatalam Cha.
Mahitalam Tajaganam Mahipate.
Mahitalam Tajaganam Mahipate.
Navastalam Navi Sarobhinanti.
Navastalam Navi Sarogrananti Dve. Two. Januni. Two knees. Sutalam. The planetary system named Sutala.
The planetary system named Sutala.
Vishvamurte. Of the universal form. Urudvayam. The two thighs. Vittalam. The planetary system named Vittala.
The planetary system named Vitala.
Cha. Also. Attalam. The planets named Attalam.
The planets named Atala.
Cha. And. Mahitalam.
Mahitalam.
The planetary system named Mahitala.
The planetary system named Mahitala.
Tat.
That.
Of that.
Jaganam.
The hips.
The hips.
Mahipate.
Mahipate.
O king. Navashtalam. Outer space. Navisara. The depression of the navel. Grenanti. They take it so. Translation. The knees of the universal form are the planetary system of the name Sutara, and the two thighs are the Vittala and Atala planetary systems. The hips are Mahitala, and outer space is the depression of his navel. Text 28. Urushtalam Jyotirani Kamasya Griva Maharvaddanam Vaijanosya Tapovaratim Vidur Adi Pumsa Satyam Tuchirshani Sahasrasirshna. The chest of the original personality of the gigantic form is the luminary planetary system. His neck is the Mahar planets, his mouth is the Janas planets, and his forehead is the Tapas planetary system. The topmost planetary system, known as Satyaloka, is the head of he who has 1,000 heads. Purport. The effulgent luminary planets like the sun and the moon are situated almost in the mid-place of the universe, and as such they are to be known as the chest of the original gigantic form of the Lord. And above the luminary planets, called also the heavenly places of the universal directorate demigods, are the Mahar, Janas, and Tapas planetary systems, and above all the Satyaloka planetary system where the chief directors of the modes of material nature reside, namely Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva. This Vishnu is known as the Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, and he acts as the supersoul in every living being. There are innumerable universes floating on the causal ocean, and in each of them the representation of the Virat form of the Lord is there, along with innumerable suns, moons, heavenly demigods, Brahmas, Vishnus, and Shivas, all of them situated in one part of the inconceivable potency of Lord Krishna, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 10:42. Om Jnanatimirandasya Dhyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lamgayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Param Ananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. A continuation of the description of the universal form of the Lord, preliminary stage of meditation, to start appreciating how the Lord is a person, is not impersonal. Shift the consciousness from just seeing things in a mechanical way to seeing how the Lord is everywhere. The Lord is all pervading. That's God consciousness. The different stages of God consciousness. Yes? So Kanishta Adhikari, he sees God in one place, in the temple. He goes to the temple. Sometimes there's a Bhagavatam class happening. No regard for the devotees who are listening to the Bhagavatam class. Not much regard for the speaker. And he just goes straight to the deities and he makes his offering to the deity, chats with his wife. Yes, see how Krishna's looking so nicely, disrupting the class possibly. Yes, it happens sometimes, but it's a stage of God consciousness. It's still glorious because at least there's acknowledgement of the Lord, appreciation that the Lord is there. But that failure to appreciate the devotees of the Lord, the servants of the Lord, that's something which has to be overcome. Because Krishna, he loves his devotees. And if someone tries to acknowledge Krishna without acknowledging Krishna's devotees, then Krishna doesn't appreciate that so much. Hare Krishna. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, there's one pastime where the person was asked, who does your devotion go through? Your devotion to Krishna, who does it go through? It doesn't. I just said of Krishna directly. Srila Bhakti said, this person has no devotion. Eternally, this is the structure of the way bhakti functions, is that devotion is always going through the channel of the devotees. If you go to the spiritual world, then there are teams of devotees who are serving the Lord, and each devotee is very happy to be the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord, many, many times removed, and they're fully satisfied in that position. And in this world, everyone is trying to avoid being the servant of anyone and ending up the servant of some unfortunate circumstance, a servant of the senses, servant of some boss, servant of some wretched country. So it's just a question of where that service will be placed. Kanishta Adhikari. Kanishta Adhikari must progress, not just seeing God within the temple. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna doesn't say, yes, see me in the temple. No, Krishna advises, instructs that one who sees the soul and the supersoul present in all bodies, yes, they see properly, and sees that both the soul and the supersoul are indestructible. They see properly. And in the next verse of the Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, Krishna says, one who sees the soul and the supersoul present in all bodies. What does he say?
Does not degrade himself by his mind.
Does not degrade himself by his mind. Because the tendency to see just the bodies means that we're seeing with some discriminating mentality, not discriminating in the good sense of the word, discriminating in the sense of prejudice, or seeing this one is lower, this one is not worthy of any respect, this person has a bad mentality, all this judgmentalism, judging based on the body. This person belongs to a different nationality than me, and I've been raised to believe that that nationality is my enemy. Yes, never met the guy, don't know who he is, might be the nicest guy in the world, nicer than most of the people in my country, but he's the enemy. He's a bad person because he's a different nationality, different race, trained to see based on the race. This person belongs to this race. I have no regard for that race, because they don't belong to my race. Everyone somehow was thinking their category is the best category. My race, my nationality, my species, my family, me. Best, the best, the best, the best. Not objectively speaking. So this is the mentality which arises from not seeing the soul in every body. And then one degrades oneself by a prejudicial view towards other living entities, and sees this one is favorable for my enjoyment, this one is unfavorable. So friends and enemies, the one who's supporting my agenda for enjoyment, my agenda for sense gratification, my friend, I'll make allies with that person. And this one who's somehow not helping my agenda for enjoyment, or impeding my agenda for enjoyment, that's my enemy. And I treat them as such. I relate to them as an enemy. So Prahlad Maharaj has advised that one should not see friends and enemies. And Prabhupada said, does the devotee have any enemy? What was Prabhupada's answer? Devotee, does he have any enemy? Any enemy? He has one enemy. Himself. He is his own worst enemy, Prabhupada said. The devotee is his own worst enemy. Because the mind and the senses. Prahlad Maharaj says the same thing. There's no enemy in this world except for the mind and the senses. One who rises above the control of the mind and senses, then the super soul is already reached, and one is situated in a perfect transcendental position beyond the modes of nature, and is happy under all circumstances, and doesn't see friends and enemies. Everything that happens is seen through the transcendental lens, seeing that Krishna is orchestrating everything, and Krishna is my well-wisher. So how could anything bad happen to me? It must all be good. It's a very tough vision to adopt. It's easy to talk, a high talk, and easy to remember the verses, and easy to preach the verses to others. Someone comes and says, oh, I just went through this horrible experience, this person did this to me, and then the verses come to mind. To preach to the person. Taktenu kampam susanekshamano, janadapi, sunichena, tarorapi. All the verses come immediately to mind. But then when I get cheated, when someone does something which is cutting me a little deep, then suddenly those verses disappear. And I just see this independent actor who's giving me something that I don't deserve this. I never did that to anyone during the course of my billion lifetimes in the material world. This is unwarranted, unjustified. There's no Krishna involved in my experience here. So one degrades oneself with the mind by having a hateful attitude towards that person. Yes? Hateful. This person is causing me distress. The person might have a lot of impurities in their heart. Yes? And they might have malice in their heart, and that their malice is now being directed towards me. So I adopt a hateful attitude, or a revengeful attitude, a spiteful, resentful attitude, and I harbor it. I can keep it for years, yes, despite so many instructions. Forgive, be forgiving, keep things in perspective. Know that whatever's happening to you, you've given the same, you've launched the same poison against others, for sure. But it's very hard to embrace that that attitude of forgiveness. Very tough. It can stick there for years, decades. You can be on your deathbed and still think, that God did this to me, you know? So one has to abandon that, free oneself from that burden. And one frees oneself from that burden by Krishna's grace. A very powerful practice is that in the course of praying, when we're praying, we typically, Krishna, here I am, stuck in the material world. I'm really struggling with my mind, with my senses. I want to be a devotee. Please help me. Please help me. Please help. Okay, enough. Please help me. Now think about others. Think of some good for other souls. Right? That's a very powerful spiritual practice. Just like when we engage in Sankirtan, when we try to give benefit to others, suddenly our problems go from this size to this size, or they practically disappear sometimes in the moment of giving Krishna's mercy to others. Yes, that's the nature of Krishna's beautiful arrangement, that the more one is self-absorbed, thinking, oh, my happiness, oh, my situation, oh, what am I to do next? Then the problems, they magnify. Even the small problem becomes a huge problem. And the more one is meditating on how to benefit others, the more our problems reduce. So similarly, when we're engaged in prayer, we have a list of devotees that we pray for, a list of souls that we pray for. And in that list of souls, if there's any souls that have some malice towards us, that have some bad feeling towards us, or that we have some tough relationship with, very good to pray for them. My dear Lord, this person, you so desire, please give them your mercy. I wish them well. That relieves us of that burden of resentment and bad feeling towards another living entity. And then we're on Krishna's page. We're no longer on the mundane platform. Mundane platform is all full of duality. But Krishna, he has no duality. He's the well-wisher of every living entity. He relates to different souls in different ways, but he's the well-wisher of everyone. So when we have that mood of trying to be the well-wisher of everyone as Krishna's servant, then Krishna is very pleased by that attitude. And he says so in the Bhagavad Gita in many places. One who is a kind, well-wishing friend of all. And if you look at the 26 qualities of a devotee, what's the first quality of a devotee? Kind. First quality is kind. And then later, he sees all living entities equally. He's a kind friend to all. He's the enemy of Ajata Shatru. This was the name of Maharaj Yudhisthira. His enemy was never born. His enemy was never born. Why? Because anyone who looked at Maharaj Yudhisthira, even the most hateful person, the guy who just by nature hates people, looks at him like, I hate this person. This person is really nuts. This person has goodwill towards me. Who was also described like that amongst Lord Chaitanya's associates, described as being kind, well-wishing friend of all, nirmatsara, no envy. The 6 Goswamis, right? Dira dira jana priya priya karo nirmatsara pujito. They were dear to people. Dear to who? Dear to the gentle souls, that's normal. They were dear to the ruffians, to the people who were misbehaved, to the people who had terrible consciousness. Because the people with terrible consciousness saw them as, oh my God, this person likes me. Nobody likes me. This person likes me. They don't even understand how they like me, but they like me. And so people appreciated that. People appreciated the 6 Goswamis. So this vision of seeing the soul and the supersoul present in all bodies, it protects one from degradation. Shesh Kumar is instructing, one should see every body as a temple of the Lord. That's a different vision. It's just natural. The mind just naturally judges, this person, not only the body, but the mind. We judge people based on their mind. This person has a nice mentality, a likable sort of disposition. Oh, I like this person. I like this other person. They have a disposition which is unlikable. Yeah. But one practices actively cultivating. No, I'm not going to see like that anymore. I'm going to see beyond the body, beyond the mind. I'm going to practice seeing that there's a soul and a super soul in every body. Every body is the temple of God. And there's a meditation in the 11th canto. One should offer dandavats to every living entity. It doesn't mean just lay on the floor forever. You have to do service. But it means in the mind, right? From the mind, always remembering and cultivating that attitude of respect for all living entities. And in the list of qualities of the different levels of devotees, which is given by Srila Rupa Goswami in the Upanishadamrita, the Nectar of Instruction, he's describing the Mahabhagavat. And how does he describe the Mahabhagavat in terms of like what's a very defining feature, quality of the Mahabhagavat? Free from the tendency to find faults in others. What is it?
Aversion to fault finding.
Aversion, it doesn't exist. Total aversion to fault finding. He doesn't find fault with others. He sees there's faults. It's obvious. People are full of faults in this world, It's not a qualification to see the faults in others. That requires no qualification, no education, nothing. It's automatic, and it can be a full-time occupation. Yeah, you can never run out of subject matter. Right? But Prabhupada said, if you look in your own heart, you will find plenty of subject matter for discussion. Who was saying? Shesha Maharaj was saying, Govinda Maharaj, he said that his religion, I think the Gaudiya Sridhar Swami, my religion is
Find fault in myself.
To find fault in myself and correct it and work on it. That's a full-time engagement right there. So that's the quality which is pointed out by Rupa Goswami as one of the distinguishing qualities of a Mahabhagavat. Yeah, he could have said so many things. Just like if you went around a room of 6 or 10 devotees, and what is the quality of a pure devotee? Many different answers you could give. Yeah, but Rupa Goswami points that one out very, very specifically. And because that devotee has no tendency to find fault, they maintain that. If you're engaged in finding fault, then how would you maintain a kind, well-wishing attitude towards others? Narada Muni, the classic example. He met the most hateable person. Yeah, there was this story which came out in the news of this guy, this dentist who went to Africa, and he went on a safari in Africa, and then he killed a lion. Remember that? I forget the name of the lion. And then he posted a picture of him next to the dead lion, with a smile on his face and like this, the proud hunter. He got such a backlash because it got spread all over social media that, practically his business was destroyed, his reputation was destroyed, the neighbors hated him, right? Because he killed this lion, People don't register in their mind, they're eating their steak. Did you hear what that guy did? He killed a lion, and they're eating some steak. There's always that tendency to judge in a blind way. Yes. People are making the protest against this thing or that thing, but the sages are looking and saying, you are protesting against someone else's faults, But from the sage's point of view, from a pure soul's point of view, like, hello, you've got things to work on, You've got things to work on. Sometimes there's a pro-life barbecue, yes? Yeah, they'll have a protest or a gathering pro-life against abortion. Very good, against abortion. Not that you should hate anyone. And we don't hate the people, we just try to enlighten, we try to uplift, we try to, teach people what the laws of nature are, what the proper lifestyle is. But they'll have a pro-life rally, yes? And they're protesting, no, life is sacred. This is a great sin. It's against the laws of God. And then the rally finishes, and then they have a barbecue. They don't connect the dots because they're seeing with an eye of discrimination. Living entities belonging to this species, sacred. dear in the eyes of God. Living entities belong to another species, no regard. You can torture them, subject them to the greatest types of cruelty, and there's no sin, there's no fault. Therefore, Prabhupada again and again emphasize this. Thou shalt not kill. The 4 legs of Dharma. Yes, 4 legs of Dharma. One of the 4 legs of Dharma is mercy. Ahimsa. Not being cruel to others. It's obvious. It's just so obvious. How can you be unkind to others and awaken the soul? That's an impossibility. That's an impossibility. So this guy, this dentist, his life was ruined. Everyone just hated him.
He was a hunter also?
No, people go to Africa to go on a safari, and sometimes the safaris include, hunting. Like you get to go and hunt something like that. The different companies in Africa offer that as a package. So yeah, he was a dentist, but that was his sport, And he got people just hated him, So Narada Muni also met a hunter. But he was a much worse hunter than that guy. He's the guy who was torturing animals, half killing them, leaving them to suffer. Here's a person who by all measures was a very unlikable, hateable person, yes? And normally people say, this guy is horrible, cruel, and he should get his karma. He's going to get such a consequence. Narada Muni thought nothing like that. Narada Muni just thought, oh my God, this person is going to suffer so much. I have to help this person. I have to save this person. So that hunter, Narada Muni disrupted his hunting activities and the animals ran away. And the hunter came and was ready to chastise Narada Muni. But Krishna held his tongue. He saw Narada Muni and he wasn't able to say any words to chastise Narada Muni. Narada Muni started quite a while. What are you doing? So I learned this from my father. I get great pleasure from it. And Narada Muni, this is not good. This is not good, my dear soul. This will cause you, implicate you in great suffering. You please stop this. So Narada Muni, he converted the hunter. He had no hatred towards him. He only had the highest well-wishing attitude. Because he saw this is part and parcel of Krishna. He's a divine spark. He's meant to live in the spiritual world. And look at him now. He's hiding in the bushes, torturing animals. It's amazing how low the soul can go. There's no limit to how low the soul can go by misuse of free will. Here we're hearing about the planetary systems, and the planetary systems are accommodating the different types of souls with different mentalities. That's what they're doing. They're accommodating. And how many mentalities are there? Just like the full spectrum of mentalities. The full spectrum. You find the total extreme on one side, and then you find the extreme on the other side. You find places where souls are just absorbed in the lowest types of material enjoyment. The soul goes to such a position that the divine soul, who's supposed to be dancing with Krishna in the spiritual world, is now sniffing around in the sewer, looking for some wretched thing to eat. How low the soul can go, and thinking, wagging the tail, thinking, this is it. I'm enjoying life. This is wonderful. Hey, look what I found. How low the soul can go. Or just some shark in the ocean. And what's the shark's meditation? What can I eat? What can I eat? What can I eat? That's the divine soul, part and parcel of God. Or if you go to the higher planets of the universe, it's not that it's all material enjoyment there. No, there's certain sections of the higher planets where there's material enjoyments. Svarga, yes, Svargas, Indra's planet. And those who perform the karma kanda, like really to the highest degree. And we talk about it, but it's practically irrelevant. It's practically irrelevant. Like who's actually doing that nowadays in Kali Yuga? Well, what are you? I'm a karma kandi. And based on my religious life, I'm doing everything exactly according to the book. And based on my activities, I'm going to be elevated to Svargaloka. Probably not. Probably there's practically no one doing that nowadays. It's an insignificant number of people. Just like Ashtanga yoga, like how we talk about it, but it's almost irrelevant. Like if you go to the Himalayas, you're going to find some few Ashtanga yogis there in the caves, right? but it's practically something that we just read about. And yet, what's the final conclusion of Ashtanga Yoga? Impractical, put to the side. Ain't gonna work in Kali Yuga. So Karma Kanda, again, who can do that? Practically no one. So they can be elevated to Karma Kandis, to this heavenly planet of Indra, enjoying celestial delights, beautiful music, beautiful atmosphere, beautiful, beautiful women, total celestial enjoyment, right? Not a place to be, really, not the neighborhood to visit, unless you're someone. Gokumar was there. He became the king of heaven, and he wasn't bewildered. His meditation was fixed. He didn't get lost in the material enjoyment. But anyone else, they become immersed in the material enjoyment. But if you go beyond Svarga and you come to Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka, you're not going to find sense gratifiers. Urdvam gachanti sattvashta madhye tishthanti rajasa. Yeah? Those who are living in the mode of goodness, they are elevated to the planets, the higher the planets of the sages. Those are planets of spiritual people, people who are focused on their spiritual practice. And Gokumar, when he went there through those higher planets, he saw very exalted souls. In some of those planets, the people, the sages, everywhere they looked, they could only see Vishnu. Their vision was just a Vishnu. Nothing, which is correct vision. It's perfect spiritual vision. Because that's the basic fault of the conditioned soul, is that the conditioned soul doesn't see Vishnu anywhere, doesn't see Krishna anywhere, sees something separate from Krishna, and they feel, this could be for my enjoyment. Well, there's no connection to Krishna, no connection to the Lord. But in those higher planets, they're seeing Vishnu everywhere. And then Satyaloka, practically they're liberated. Almost they're liberated. Sometimes it's described at the closing of the universe, when the universe is destroyed, Lord Brahma, it's not an automatic, it's not every time. Lord Brahma, along with the residents of Satyaloka, they go back home. They go to the spiritual world because they're so qualified. It's not automatic, but that's the level of qualification they have. So based on the desires of the soul, based on the consciousness of the soul is situated somewhere in the material atmosphere. And here we are in Kali Yuga, right? The worst of ages. So troublesome, so painful. And what do the sages say about Kali Yuga? They say, Kali Yuga, ki jai. Kali Yuga, ki jai. Ki jai. How can it be ki jai for Kali Yuga? It's a very favorable age. Who is so foolish as to think, oh, it's great here, I love it, it's so peaceful, so nice, so pleasant. I think I want to live here forever. No, it's so much pinching, so much pain, so much struggle, so much anxiety. Very favorable, very, very conducive for spiritual life. And then Mahaprabhu is given the process, which is very, very simple, very simple. Not easy, but simple. Yes? It's not easy because we have the material body, we have the material mind, we have the conditioned nature, and it's climbing up a mountain. Yes, that's what it is. Bhakti yoga means climbing up the mountain out of conditioned life, right? Adao shraddha, tata sadhu sangha, bhajana kriya, anartha nivritti. This anartha nivritti stage, very, very long anartha nivritti stage, which is still it's an impurity. Anartha nivritti syat, then Nishta is the next stage, isn't it? Nishta, then one becomes more fixed in their spiritual practice. Now one's coming towards the top of the mountain. And then Ruchi. Well, Ruchi, it's no longer like a grind with the mind, a grind with the senses. Ruchi means there's a taste. There's an appreciation of the practices of bhakti. There's a relish. Ruchi, and then Asakti is next, is it? Asakti. Then it's you're coming down the mountain. Huh? You have the benefit of gravity, and Krishna's there on the other side, and you're just practically you're coasting, because there's just a spontaneous. Doesn't mean one doesn't need to be careful. One always needs to be careful at every stage. Maintain good association. We learn from the history of Bharat Maharaj. He was in the stage of Bhav. And still, Maya came and tricked him in some bizarre, incredible way, isn't it? Incredible way. She thought should I send an Apsara? No. He read about the Apsaras. He's not going to get confused by my Apsara. I'll send a deer. Who gets confused by a baby deer? Yes. So one has to be careful, but basically one's heart is melting and one's affection and devotion is naturally flowing towards Krishna. So it remains a struggle for some time. Then at a certain point, the struggle becomes less, and when one reaches the advanced stages, there's no struggle. There's just spontaneous attraction for Krishna. And the material world is seen for what it is. Prabhupada said, Krishna has shown me the naked face, naked form of material nature. The veil has been lifted. It's no longer this thing which is shining and glittering and pulling the mirage. One says that it's a mirage. There's no attraction for it anymore. One is drinking deeply from the waters of Krishna consciousness, the relishing, the sweet relationship with Krishna. So, one Swami gave me good advice a long time ago. Mayana temple, I went to Mangalarti, then I was tired, I took a nap, I was getting ready to go to the second part of the program. A little bit groggy, and I was walking by one Swami. He said, hey, Hargo, how's it going? I said, I'm struggling. He gave me advice, stuck 30 years later in my mind. He said, we're all struggling. What else is there to do? It's nice advice. What else is there to do? This is the only thing to do. The only thing to do is give attention to our spiritual cultivation, and then there'll be no regrets at the end of this life. No regrets. Yes. Well, I did it. I think I did my best, I did my best to try to serve Krishna, to try to serve my Guru and Prabhupada. And it's a life well spent. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So I think we have 0 minutes, yes?
Just one little thing you mentioned about the pro-life people that are having their barbecue. Sometimes on book distribution, I'll meet people that are the veterinarians. So, oh, you love animals? Yeah. They vegetarian. They can't put you together. You should be vegetarian. You love animals. You slaughterhouse. They so much suffering. It's amazing how veterinarians they're still eating meat. Hello.
Vijay Prabhu made the comment that he sometimes meets veterinarians and he asks them, do you love animals? They say, of course, I love animals. And Vijay Prabhu says, are you vegetarian? And they say, no, I'm not vegetarian. Such a disconnect. As people just need spiritual knowledge. They need to, everyone's been deeply, deeply indoctrinated to think there's nothing wrong with this, nothing wrong with this. They don't make any connection at all between the activity and what's happening behind the scenes. Good people, nice people, people with good hearts, somehow or other. Of course, nowadays there's much more propaganda. There's much more. People have much more exposure to information, so that information is much more widespread, and now people can make more of a conscious decision.
How does one reconcile, but we're similarly on this topic, for example, Tianza, where we went to go to, there's one Islamic student, and he says, and my God says in my Quran that one can eat meat, but your God says that you cannot eat meat. He says, then whose God is it? Are they different gods? How does one reconcile this?
That their tradition allows eating meat under certain restricted conditions. So there's different levels of dharma. There's upadharma. Upadharma means someone is just not going to do it, not going to give up their bad habits, meat eating or gambling or intoxication. They're not going to do it. So some restriction is placed on the person, that at least they're not just acting whimsically and purchasing slaughterhouse meat. Of course, even in the Vedic tradition. Prabhupada was walking with one gentleman, Indian gentleman, And of course, yes, this meat eating process. No, you're talking like a Buddhist. No, paraphrasing. You're speaking like a Buddhist. Meat eating is permitted in the Vedic culture. Permitted under very restricted conditions. So that at least they make further progress. They're not just eating meat without any sort of regulations. It's meant to bring them to a better platform, a better platform, a better platform. And finally, they come to the proper platform of Sanatana Dharma.
And we saw the restrictions like you should go on a monastery and offer then eat and
Yeah,
after chanting certain mantras.
sure. Under those restricted conditions, meant to bring about some awareness in the mind of the person who's engaged in the act. Yeah?
You reminded me, Guru, when you answered because we went to one halal store and this was there and I saw it. The halal store. We went to distribute in Fremont. This was on the window.
You don't go that free.
Free.
We were told
We were thinking, should we go there? They're out there like that.
Strange thing, maybe you have also experienced that butchers are sometimes very favorable
They
and
take
they
books.
take books.
Yeah.
They take books, you know. It's like Mahaprabhu he's just got a thing, oh, this guy is so condemned, I gotta give him the mercy, you know? Gotta give him the mercy. That's Mahaprabhu. So typically Western devotees came from backgrounds where they were doing these things, and we came to understand by the mercy of the devotees, by the mercy of Prabhupada, how to live properly. So other people can also come to that understanding. So that's our attitude. Our attitude is that everyone can be brought to the right understanding. We're just offering. We're offering here. This is the proper way to live. Please take it up. Please come to the right mode of living so that you can be happy. Srila Prabhupada ki
Yeah.